Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That's the beauty of podcasting. You can listen to whenever. Hi, I'm Justin,
I'm Pete.
I'm Joe.
I'm Russ.
and this is the Finstock Sports Network's only college football podcast, Touchdown in Paradise. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe for more. Before we go any further, we have a very special guest today here on the pod. This man will make you laugh until you throw up. This guy was all over the South Bay, all over LA. He is the king of comedy down here, and he is our first ever Notre Dame alum on this podcast, Mr. Daniel Carter.
Get these there. Thank you.
Daniel, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's cool. You can do this just from separate houses.
Yep.
Watch a ton. What is the Fin? What is Fins? Is that like a Dolphins thing?
Yeah, so this network was started by some Dolphins fans out in Miami and scattered around Nashville, Houston. So we're everywhere. But right now we're talking college football.
Cool. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. We're going to jump right in here. Breaking news out of Athens, Georgia. Tight end Brock Bowers had tightrope surgery on his ankle, out 4 to 6 weeks. So this injury happened in the game against Vanderbilt. Now, let's start with our Southern gentleman here, Russ. What are Georgia's chances of three-peating as national champions without him?
I mean, it's going to be tough, honestly. I mean, it's a big part of the offense. And, I mean, I really – this year, I love it this year, honestly. You know, I love college football. There's so much parity in college football. It's so deep where in years past it's been basically, you know, Georgia and, you know, the SEC dominating everything. So, I mean, I'm really stoked. I mean, the Pac-12, even though Oregon lost, Oregon's right in there. They looked really good. So, I mean, the parity in college football, and I think, you know, obviously we're seeing Georgia. You know, you lose your quarterback Stenson, who's, you know, a veteran, not just by, you know, he's been there a while, but by age. And then, you know, finally losing so many players to on defense, finally maybe catching up a little bit, and then you lose Bowers. I mean, that's a big loss.
Pete, I know you have personal beef with Brock Bowers because he won the award over Michael
Yeah, over Michael Mayer.
last year. So, Pete, let me hear your thoughts on this.
I mean, you know, you beat me to the point. I mean, Michael Mayer wouldn't get injured against Vanderbilt. The dude's built like a brick shit house. Notre Dame legend. Should have won the award last year, but whatever. Bowers, yeah, it's a huge loss. I mean, he's one of their best goddamn players. So without one of your best players, it's going to be hard to repeat, whatever the heck Georgia's trying to do. Big loss. You know, it'd be. I think it's going to be hard for them to win without him. I mean, obviously they're deep at every position, so who knows? Maybe the next guy up is going to be a stud, but definitely a big loss. Definitely a big loss.
Joe, do you see any scenario where the SEC could miss out on the playoff entirely because of this injury with Georgia?
No, I don't think so. I think Georgia's floor is still they're winning the SEC. You know, he's out for the regular season. That means he's probably back for the SEC championship. You know, I think they'll probably play Alabama. You know, the way Alabama's playing, that's going to be old school SEC. It'll be a 7-10 game, maybe 7-3, real snooze fest. But overall, again, I don't see the SEC being kept out. You know, I just think the name itself, the prestige of the SEC in college football nowadays, you know, I don't think ESPN would almost allow them to not have at least one team in. So, no, I think it does hurt them to have Brock Bowers out. But again, their floor is so high that, you know, on a bad day when they play like a team like Vandy, you know, they still win. But it does definitely hurt them for the rest of the regular season.
Dano, when I mentioned Michael Mayer for a sec, you had something to say. Go for it.
Well, yeah, I was like, Michael Mayer put up those numbers last year with Drew Pine. You know, that's how it's been, which I basically say is me at quarterback last year. And so I don't know. I think it's sad though. He's a great player, and people were actually talking about him to win the Heisman as a dark horse, which would have been the first tight end ever, right? But that sucks. But he'll probably be back by the SEC championship. So I don't see the schedule is such a joke in Georgia this year that I don't see it really affect. What's their toughest game left? Like Kentucky?
And they already played Kentucky.
Oh, they just did, right? Who they?
Yeah.
They don't have.
Florida's left, and then the SEC title.
They don't have Bama, LSU. Yeah, that's just Florida. Okay, so yeah, I think they'll be fine.
And Georgia Tech, but not that matters.
They might get the team might get better in general. Not having him there, they might just like the receivers might start developing more.
Well, they're actually predicting I think they're predicting the title game is when he'd be back, not the SEC championship game. The title
or the first playoff game.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he could lose the first playoff game. I can see that if they pull Michigan.
Yeah, if he's not back until the playoff, him not being there for the SEC championship game may make it a little more difficult. I still think they're better than Bama or anyone in the West for that matter. But yeah, if they have to draw like a team like Washington or Oregon or Michigan, yeah, that's going to be a tough one for them because I haven't watched much Georgia games, but he was their offense, or at least he was a big portion of that offense.
Well, and to answer your question, Justin, they're not keeping the SEC out. The SEC generates so much money for college football that they can't. Just by the fan bases alone, how they travel.
And with the championship game being in Houston, it's right there for the taking.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Feinbaum would have a heart attack.
Well,
probably
they show up. When I went to the Rose Bowl in 2017 when Oklahoma played Georgia, it might have been 70-30, 75-30. It was insane. And honestly, I love Georgia fans. They know their shit. Really classy, nice people. And when it hits fourth quarter and it all goes dark, because by that time it's dark and everybody throws up their lights and it's just 75% of the stands lit up. I'm like, this is pretty insane.
Well, look at Georgia when they traveled to South Bend. They basically packed out South Bend. South Bend was red. So Georgia SEC fans.
I was there. I was at that game.
Yeah, it was a sea of red. So
terrible late hit call. Let them win the game.
That's a Brian Kelly team. They could never win a big game like that. But that's in the past. We're looking to the future. But again, the SEC will not be kept out of the playoff. Georgia would have to drop multiple games. Alabama would have to probably lose at least one more. And there would probably be still some way that they would excuse one of them to be in the playoff. So
you can't spell excuses without SEC.
What if, let's say, Michigan, Oklahoma, Washington are all undefeated, and Florida State are all undefeated?
I take it all. I'd love to see that, Dano. I don't see any team from the Pac-12 going undefeated. I love the idea. I'm with you, but
I just think that's the only way I can see the SEC.
I 100% agree with you. But it's just too much money, and as we see, money plays now, and that's what it's all about. Unfortunately, that's what it's all about.
Pete, last comment. We're moving on after this.
I just all my eyes right now are on Tennessee because they play Bama this coming weekend and they still have a matchup against Georgia. So, I don't want to see Bama or Georgia in it. So I'm rooting for Tennessee, baby. Let's go. Volunteer. Let's go, baby.
We'll get to our picks a little later in the show, but we're going to move into our recap here, starting with PENIX greater than BONIX. Washington pulls out the W in an all-time classic. Michael Penix Jr., 302 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Rome Odunze, I apologize if I'm butchering that name, 8 catches, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. On the other side, BONIX, 337 yards, 2 touchdowns. Let's start with Joe here. Dan Lanning and his balls of steel fell flat 3 times on 4th down. Was it the right call?
Well, we're looking at it in hindsight. The dude is an aggressive play calling coach. he's going to stick with that and, ride and die with that. I'm a guy, if I was coaching that situation, I would say at least one of those 3 possessions I'm taking the points, because you saw how that game was going. It was going to come down to possessions, and whoever had the ball last was going to win. And I mean, as you saw, Oregon had a chance to tie the game at the end and missed a field goal. You had 3 chances to kick a field goal earlier, a lot closer in. If you just take one of those, we may be talking a lot different about that game. But no, I don't fault Dan Lanning for sticking with his guns, being aggressive, and thinking, again, this is going to be a shootout. Touchdowns win games, field goals lose games.
Russ, Michael Penix has been your Heisman pick since day one of the season. Is he a lock now?
I mean, I wouldn't go lock. I would say he's a front runner. I mean, he played. I would say that whole game lived up to expectations with Penix and Nix, who, I wouldn't count out Oregon either, because, I mean, like we said last week, it's tough. I could see Oregon, Washington having a rematch, and it's tough to beat a team 2 times. With what Joe said, I was 100% fine with what Lanning did, going for it all those times, and that's what he told us he was going to do. He was in Seattle. He wanted to play aggressive. My only bone to pick is maybe at the end of the half, kick the field goal, take the points, and then you get the ball at the start of the second half, where it's like you're building momentum. Where that's my only bone. And I mean, I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is unbelievable, but Roma Adunes, or however you say his last name, that guy could be Biletnikoff Award winner hands down. He's a freak, and he could easily be the best wide receiver in college football.
Pete, give us the little walked in just as it ended.
Yeah, well, just in terms of my reaction from the game, I mean, you guys have been on Michael Penix more this season than I have, and I've kind of been off both teams. I've been really focused on USC and Notre Dame and some others. Michael Penix Jr., stud, absolute stud. I mean, he's definitely the front runner for the Heisman. Dan Lanning, the coaching, you got famous James Bond quote, right? You got to know when to pull the trigger. You also got to know when not to. You got to know when to, take the points when you can get them. I mean, in a game like this, where you got 2 high-power offenses, coming away with no points is not an option. And I can see it maybe you go for it out of those, 3-4 times they had, the 3 missed chances. It's maybe you got to at least kick 1, dude. That's 9 points you're giving up right there. It's just absolutely stupid. What are you doing? So I thought it was bad coaching for a guy that, we were all high on against Colorado, the coaching job he did there, the blow up job before the game, the hype and all that stuff. It came down to me coaching. You can't come away with no points. And then your kicker doesn't kick any all game long. Yeah. He's not even warmed up to kick the final one, which is farther away. It's what are you doing? So yeah, bad coaching. I think that lost the game. I'm not saying that Washington didn't deserve to win it, but you gave away 9 points. It's come on, man.
Now, Dano, I know you were also prepping to watch the Notre Dame game, like a lot of us on this. So did you pay attention at all this game? And if so, what were your thoughts?
I watched the first half. I think it looks like Oregon's just if you're anybody who's playing a video game, right? So do you guys have Retro College Bowl? I never take. I love that game.
I
never a kicker because it's pointless. So I didn't see. I just saw the highlights, but I was too nervous down at Patrick Malloy's getting ready for our game to really pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, now let's move on to the game that we were all paying attention to.
Transferred from
Indiana.
Okay, that's right.
But I 100% agree with you, Pete. I mean, to not attempt a field goal and then to put that guy out there for a 49-yard field goal to tie the game. I don't care if you're, a professional kicker. You're cold all day. You're kicking PATs.
Well, you're cold, and then it also gives the kicker the whole game. The kicker's you don't trust me to get these points, dude. Not saying there was a trust issue. It's just when you don't have me kick the whole damn game, that must also creep into your mind. Come on, dude. You're not setting me up for success.
And it's like these kickers are, he missed that field goal. I'm sure he's received a couple death threats. I'm like, okay, yeah, I missed the field. Everybody misses field goals. I've been sitting there all game, just getting tight.
And plus, you're on the road in a really tough environment in Husky Stadium. Those Seattle fans get loud. If you've ever seen a Seahawks game, I know it's a little bit different. It's a college game, but it's still not too far away, just up the road in Seattle. And those fans up in the PNW get rabid.
Again, I think going back to what Russ said quickly, you at least have to take the points right at the halftime. Like, you're getting the ball back. I think would they have been up or tied at halftime if they kicked the field goal?
They would have been down. I think down. It would have been 4. Yeah.
Okay. Well, regardless, you have the momentum going into the locker, regroup, and then you get the ball back, and you're only down 4 instead of 7. Like, that's my only issue with the coaching call. You had to at least get one of those field goals, one of those points. Maybe not all 9, because field goals were not going to win that game, but you had to at least get 1. 3 points. That game's tied. It's going into overtime, and maybe Dan Lanning is going for the win at the end of that game instead of trying to get the field goal for the tie.
But I
Stat
think
correction here was 22 to 18 at the half, so it would have been 1 point.
Even more. Like, you have to take points.
Give some credit. Washington's defense played very good too. So it wasn't just all PENIX. They made some big stops. But
overall, great game.
Great, yeah.
Yeah, maybe the game of the year. Now let's move on to the game that we've been all waiting for to talk about. And this is the reason that Dano said, if we lose, then I'm not going to go on the podcast. But if we win, then maybe I'll think.
I would not be here.
Yep. Well, he's here because Notre Dame pulls out the W. In fact, beats the living shit out of USC 48-20. Sam Hartman, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. Audric Estime, thank you, Dano, for the typo correction here. 95 rush yards, 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, Caleb Williams, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Dano, since you're our guest, you're the Notre Dame alum. Let's hear it.
I mean, I don't know where to start. It's just the complete opposite of how I thought we would have won that game if we did win. I thought we would just put up a lot of points against their shitty defense. But our defense showed up, just completely showed up. Xavier Watts, like his stats on that game would have been good for a season. I feel like with everything he had, with 2 picks, recovery, 2 tackles for loss, I think, and a touchdown. And it's great, see Caleb Williams go down because we don't like him at all. I was there my year I graduated was the Bush Push year. Yeah, I rushed the field when the clock ran out.
Oh, man.
So that's a real and now I live in Southern California, so it means like so much more to me.
And Matt Leinart is your neighbor.
He did my show at Poncho's once. Like, just the crowd. I asked him if he could ballroom dance for us.
Yeah. You should have pushed him out the door and be like, oh, sorry, dude.
Because I announced his net worth to everybody. I Googled it. That was the first thing that came up. I felt like I held back because he was with another girl, and it was probably his wife now, I think. But I knew he had dated Paris Hilton before, so I really wanted to do Paris Hilton jokes, but I held back because I didn't want to cockblock,
You're a good guy.
One, thank you.
Who hasn't dated Paris Hilton?
That meant.
Yeah.
I've seen him since we've buried the hatchet. Actually, he's actually a pretty cool guy. I actually liked his banter with Brady on the what's the Big Noon show. Mm-hmm. So I was up early watching that. I mean, that was 7:30 a.m. out here. That starts because it was that heavy. And yeah, just pumped. It's nice time for a bye week too.
Joe, Pete, jump on in.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The defense showed up. Where was this against Louisville? I mean, that would have been real nice. I mean, to see, but again, it's always nice to beat SC, especially after last year where he had on his fingernails and everything, the whole like FND or whatever it was. Like, I'm not a Caleb Williams fan. I appreciate that he's a great player, but we brought him down a peg a little bit. Looked real human in this game. It just goes to show, though, SC has flaws, as we've been talking about for weeks now, and Notre Dame exploited them. So, are they out of a playoff contention? No, they still have some tough games to play. And if they win out, I don't see how you can keep them out at potentially a one-loss team, but who knows?
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, screw them, dude. Great win. Amazing win. I freaking knew it. I was most shocked that our defense was able to keep Caleb from getting out and really doing much with his feet. He really didn't do anything with his feet. He had a couple plays where he kind of broke out, but I think it really showed when he can't scramble out wide and he rushes up the middle, like he can do a couple little flicks, but like that takes a huge part of his game away. And I think our defensive game plan was amazing. I will say our defense has showed up. They showed up against Ohio State. They didn't show up against Louisville, but that was also bad coaching. We had a couple bad games, and I think that Louisville game, just by the vibes of it, we were looking ahead to this game. Because the guys, they brought it. It was night and day different. Sam Hartman, he balled out. I love that all the quarterbacks were back too. Outside of the game, all the other pageantry stuff, Joe Montana was back. You had Brady Quinn back. It just seemed like, Marcus Freeman, I've been reading a lot of stories. He's bringing a lot of alumni back and making a much better atmosphere for Notre Dame legends than Brian Kelly did. Brian Kelly tried to push him away and used the pedestal like it was his own. I think maybe you sent me an article about that, Joe, or something. But it was great. The energy was amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Very excited. Wish that we didn't have 2 losses. I wish it was the continuation of a goddamn, undefeated season. But I think this win was something like that Marcus Freeman, a statement win, something to build on. I mean, we didn't just beat SC. We beat the shit out of them. And, dominated them. Every facet of the game. Outcoached Lincoln Riley. Outplayed every player on their team. I can't really say anything good about SC. They were dog shit, and that was because of us.
Russ, we've heard a lot of Notre Dame one-sided bias. Let's hear a neutral perspective.
SC's kind of, like I've said, SC's defense is going to be the downfall, and that kind of is what we saw. And definitely, Caleb Williams has been trending this way with, having to rely on his legs more, starting with, the second half of Colorado, moving to the Arizona game. And I mean, it showed, and obviously Colorado and Arizona's defense better than Colorado, which isn't saying much because Colorado's defense is non-existent. But, Notre Dame's got a strong defense. I mean, and that's a staple win. Anytime you can beat SC, that's a big marker. I know. I mean, Notre Dame's out of the playoff contention. Maybe they can get a New Year's Six bowl, but that's a staple win for Marcus Freeman. That's a big one. So, but Caleb Williams, Heisman, it's done. It's done. It's in the garbage.
The USC guys usually win their Heisman against us, and then this one time they actually lost it, which was nice. Leinart, Palmer, Williams last year, they all won against us. And Reggie Bush too. But you mentioned the alums being around. I was at the Ireland game, and I saw Montana was there, Brady was there, Tony Rice was there. There was so many people were there. Yeah, and I don't think last time when Kelly coached there, I don't think anybody went.
No, Montana's son was on that 2010 team, and then he transferred out. Montana wasn't happy with him. He really hadn't been back since. I was reading this article about it, and I started to think. I was like, when besides this season or even a little bit last year, when was the last time we really saw any of these Notre Dame greats come back and support? It's almost like they weren't welcome. And it's just crazy. I will say another thing too. It's popping up on my girlfriend's phone. Our quarterback, the hottest goddamn guy on the planet.
He shaved?
Yeah. Well, I saw that. Yeah.
He's got
luscious locks. We all know he's a good-looking dude because
it's
But I see it pop up, and these girls are commenting like, "Oh my God, I gotta watch Notre Dame football on Instagram and stuff like that." And I get a little tear in my eye, and I'm like, "That's my quarterback. That's my quarterback."
Brady was getting the same thing.
I'd rather Taylor Swift date Sam Hartman than Travis Kelce. I'm not a fan anymore.
I don't need that notoriety. I'm tired of hearing about that.
Her mother is an ND grad.
She is a grad, isn't she?
Taylor's not. No.
Oh no, she's not. No.
But he's got. I mean, it's not going to happen. He's got some if he's got some Heisman hair, the flow. He's just got some serious salad.
We've talked a lot about Notre Dame, but now it's time for the Russ Report.
All right. Well, I'm going to bring back. I don't know if you guys know this. This segment presented by Bush Bavarian. You're going to drink. Make sure it's Bush Bavarian. All right?
Okay. Are they really a sponsor?
What?
Are they really a sponsor?
Hey, if you want to sponsor, we're open. You know,
you say it enough times, someone's bound to hear it. You know, put it out in the ether, in the atmosphere.
I'm all about a full Bush, boys. A full Bush.
So since Dano is new to this, why don't you explain the scoring to him real quick?
All right, Dano. So Joe's on top. He's had a good couple of weeks. He's got 45.5 points. Justin's right below, 42. I'm at 38. Pete's at 32. So we go half a point a call. If you call the favorite, the money line. If you call cover money line and they're favored, you'll just get the half point. All right. You call the over under. If you call money line cover favorite, and it's not like, hey, we'll go off UCF for Justin. They cover. Oklahoma says win, over. We're going to give you 2 points. On our upset picks, if it's under, it's got to be 4.5 on the upset. That'll be 2 points. If it's over 6.5, you get a 5-pointer. And then I'll just keep the scores by the end and tally it up.
Every time you explain this, Russ, I just get confused.
You mess it up every week, Pete.
I missed 2 weeks. I missed 2 weeks. Give me 10 points.
Well, you're sabbatical, Pete. This is sabbatical, Pete.
How much did you lose on Louisville, Pete?
I don't know how many points. I didn't bet on the game, but I lost points in this game, I guess.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Not to toot my horn, I am 2-0 on the last 2 weeks for upset pick of the week. Just throwing that out there. So, Dano, if you want mine, you can have it.
All right. So jumping right in here, a little Homer and me, UCF at Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a 19-point favorite here. Over-under is 65. OU minus 1,200 money line. UCF plus 750. Let's start with Russ.
All right, so I'm going the UCF cover. 19 points is a lot. I'm going the Oklahoma money line, and I'm taking the over.
All right, around the horn, Joe.
Oh, man. I think if it was at UCF, I would probably take UCF to cover, but they're at Norman, so I see Oklahoma just beating the crap out of UCF. Sorry, Justin. Oklahoma with taking the 19. I'm taking the over. I'm taking Oklahoma money line.
Dano, you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, I think I'm exactly with what Russ said. 19's a lot. I definitely think it'd be way. If I was confident in one, I'd take the over for sure. And then obviously you take Oklahoma to win. Are you actually taking UCF to win, Justin?
I'll announce that after Pete goes.
Oh, saving the best for last. If that was the case, I'd be going, but I'll go next to last. I am going to take UCF to cover. Wild game, not wild, but good close game against Texas last week at home. They haven't had to travel anywhere. I think Oklahoma's going to come out a little sleepy, just a little sleepy. And it's an early game. It's a noon. Actually, no, 11 a.m. kickoff.
11 a.m. Oklahoma time.
Yeah, 11 a.m. kickoff, early game. They haven't had to travel much this week. Everyone's talking about how good they are because they beat Texas. Not a letdown game because no one looks past UCF, Justin. But I think they're going to take their foot off the gas a little bit. And I think UCF is going to cover. They have a good chance to win, but I think it's going to be pretty close. Oklahoma money line, UCF cover. I'm going to go under 65. I think it's actually going to be a low-scoring game. I don't know why, but I'm going to go under.
Oh boy, so we are going to be very different here. You guys did not mention the X factor in this game, and that is the one thing in the Venn diagram these teams have in common is Dylan Gabriel, who was the quarterback at Oklahoma, who was our quarterback at UCF for 3 years. And I looked up these stats, and this is very interesting. I'm a big numbers guy sometimes. Dylan Gabriel currently has 111 touchdowns, 22 interceptions, and for his career, he has 33 receiving yards, and this is his 44th start coming up. If we're going by those numbers, we're almost to, what's that? Oh, he went 6-6 last year. You know what 6 means. I don't have to tell you. This is my upset of the week. UCF going into Norman, taking down Oklahoma and their former guy, Dylan Gabriel. It's going to be a field goal game. Colton Boomer, our kicker, is going to go in there. He's going to kick it. Every UCF fan is going to yell, boom. No sooner, just boom. Let's go, baby. UCF,
Heck yeah.
Oklahoma.
Do you have the same coaching staff at UCF as when Gabriel was there? So they know him like really well?
So Josh Heupel was our coach for the most part, but then 3 games into Gus Malzahn's tenure, Dylan Gabriel got hurt, and then he transferred.
Okay.
So he did have some overlap there, to answer your question. Next game here, we have Tennessee at Alabama. Bama is a 9-point favorite here at home, 47.5 over under. Bama minus 360, Tennessee plus 285. By the way, Russ, I'm going UCF to cover, obviously, over, and I'll take the UCF money line. And now with this Bama-Tennessee game, let's start with Pete.
You know, the Volunteers are going to volunteer for all college football fans, and they're going to go in and they're going to beat Saban, and they're going to keep them out of the playoff. That sneaky son of a B is trying to sneak in. I'm done with it. They better go down there and handle business. Tennessee money line, Tennessee cover, Bama's dead, over 47.5. What kind of over-under is that on a Tennessee team? Get the hell out of here. It's going over for sure. Let's go, baby. Volunteer Nation, son. Come on.
Dano, how you feeling here?
No, I think Bama will roll. I'd say what was the over-under?
Over-under here is 47.5.
Okay, I'll go Bama to cover and money line and over.
Joe.
At home.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dan. I think even if it's ugly, boring football, Nick Saban has Alabama playing winning football, but their offense is boring.
Tommy Rees.
It's not good to watch. So I'm going to take Tennessee to cover. The 9 points, I think it's going to be a field goal game. And because I'm also taking the under, I think the defense for Alabama is going to keep it close. But with that, I have Bama winning by a field goal.
Russ.
Yeah, so this was a rematch of honestly probably the best game last year. So I'm looking forward to it. I've got Tennessee covering, but I think Saban's finally started figuring something out. So I got the money line for Alabama. Milroe's starting to figure it out. He's looking good, had a good couple weeks. So I think this is going to be – these next 2 weeks going to be a test for Bama. And then I got the over.
Looking at this game, last year, Pete and I were watching this together in person, and it was just the game of the year. Fireworks everywhere. We wish that Russ had bought his ticket early so it wasn't so expensive when he was living in Nashville.
I wish I was there. My brother was at that game, and he was on the sidelines because my brother works for Fox. He was on the sidelines, and he made friends with one of the security guards. And when the field goal was going through, he goes, "Hey, Joe, run." And he got bumped. He's like, just run. It's getting wild. And everybody he got hit, went down, took the hit and kept on running. But he said it was nuts.
Mm-hmm. And because of that, this time it is in Tuscaloosa, but Alabama, like Dano said, Tommy Rees, just very boring. Jalen Milroe's looking better. But if you look at their game at home against Arkansas last week, they let Arkansas back in the game in the fourth quarter, and they nearly upset them. Looking at that, so that 9-point spread there is just a little too big for me. I'll have Tennessee cover that easily. I'll go. I'll probably push the over here because I think Joe Milton will get at least 2 touchdowns on the board. And looking at Bama, they're at home, so I'm going to take them to win, but it's not going to be a 9-point spread. No way.
How about over under 1 snap for Tyler Buckner?
Now that's a
Under
real
for sure.
Hey, Arkansas also
I
only
thought we were
lost
using
to
them.
Bama by 3 points at Bama. So I think this game, I think these two teams, Bama and Tennessee, are a little bit more matched than we think. Also, Bama's dead. Tommy Reese is going to choke it away this season. They're not sneaking in. Got a Notre Dame sleeper cell in there trying to tank them from the inside, and it's going to happen this week and against LSU.
See, I'm friends with Tommy's brother, Danny Reese. He lives out here in Manhattan Beach. And so the biggest letdown for me was Tommy left and I lost free tickets.
Oh, man.
Wow.
That's how directly affected me.
Well, now you get free Bama tickets, maybe.
You guys did get to the game in Vegas last year.
Sick. Moving on here, we have Florida State going to Durham to take on the Blue Devils of Duke. Florida State is a 14-point road favorite, 49.5 over under. FSU minus 600 money line. Duke plus 440. Let's hear from Dano first this time. What you thinking?
Well, this was my upset pick, right? But I think that's dependent on if Leonard plays or not, for sure. I know it's at FSU, but I don't know. They've been sort of been all over the place. With the BC game, they barely pulled out. Overtime against Clemson. Duke beat Clemson pretty well. So I'm going to take under Duke covering and Florida State winning because I don't think Leonard's going to play. But, yeah, I'll do that. But I want Duke to win.
Okay, looking at that. Russ.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely taking – I think Duke's going to cover. FSU with the money line, they're definitely have a mission this year. And I really struggled with the over-under. I'm with Dano. I think it's going to be an under game. Duke's defense is
good. Yeah.
That defense is for real. But even if Leonard comes back, it's in Tallahassee. You know, which I actually saw an interesting.
No. This game is in Durham, Russ.
Oh, it's in Durham?
Yeah.
Not really?
No, it's in Florida State. It's
Yeah.
at
Yeah, it's at Florida State.
Yeah.
it's at Florida State.
Oh, my bad.
I want to take Duke at home.
Is Doak Campbell Stadium is the second largest brick like facility or any type of brick in the world after the Great Wall of China.
Nice fact. What's number 3?
I didn't go that far. I was like, yeah, that's all I need.
So my apologies here. It is indeed in Tallahassee. Thank you guys for the correction here. So Florida State is a 14-point home favorite this time. Pete, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I think Florida State's kind of rolling here. I'm going to take Florida State pretty much just to trounce them. I'm taking Florida State to cover. I'm taking the over. I mean, Duke's been scoring some points. I mean, they've been averaging in the 30s each game the past like 4 or 5 weeks. A couple games they've scored 40 or more. So I'm going to go over 49.5. FSU money line, pound it. It's at home. And I think they're going to win by probably 3 touchdowns, if not maybe 24 points.
All right. And Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the majority of us here. Duke's defense is legit. I mean, say what you want about their offense. I mean, I know Notre Dame shut them down, but they do score points. I think Duke will cover. I think 14, even at Tallahassee, is very doable. I don't think Duke is going to be intimidated. They played Clemson. They've played Notre Dame. They've played in some huge games. So, yeah, I don't think that's going to really scare them much. I'm taking the under. Definitely think this is going to be a defensive just fight. But I am taking Florida State to win. It's at home. They're on a mission. They're not losing to Duke at home.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, looking at this, Florida State, Doak Campbell was a very tough place to play, especially when you hear that war chant going in a packed house under the lights. I'll take Duke to cover here because they're a very good team. Although when Florida State is at their peak, it doesn't matter how good the team is. If they come into Doak Campbell, it can just turn ugly very quickly. But I think it will. I'll go with the under here too because Duke's defense is good, but they can't score as quickly as Florida State is accustomed to. But I'll take Florida State to win here. It'll still be comfortable, but I don't think it'll be 14. It may be 10.
Does Florida State play North Carolina this year?
I have to check. It's going to be a good game if so.
I don't think they do.
Looking ahead here, Washington State going to Eugene to face the Oregon Ducks. Oregon's a 19.5 home favorite here. Over-under is 60 and 13.50 UO favorite versus Washington State plus 800. Let's go with Russ. I know you've been pretty high on Oregon State, but how do you feel about Washington State?
Oh, I got Washington State. I think they're going to cover, but there's no way they're going to win. Arizona broke the back last week. We took it to them. So Oregon's going to get this win, and I got the over. And to answer your question, Dano, they do not play North Carolina.
Okay.
All right, Joe.
Yeah, I'm with you, Russ. I think Wazoo is going to cover 19 points or 19 and a half is a lot of points. And again, Washington State is a very good team. They were my sleepers for a little bit there. So I think they'll definitely battle, definitely put up some points. So I'll definitely take the over as well. But I think Oregon's going to be hungry. They're going to be angry about that loss against Washington. So they're going to take it out on their little brother and beat them pretty soundly against Washington State. But I don't think it's going to be 3 touchdowns. It'll probably be 2, if not 2, and a field goal.
Now, looking at this, Washington State has not been good the last couple of weeks. I don't know what's gotten into them, but they just don't look the same as they did to start the year. So for that reason, I'll take Oregon to probably go over that. It'll be 3-4 touchdowns, and I'll take the over for sure and Oregon money line. Pete.
Yeah, that's a good call, Justin. I was kind of vacillating between, do I think Oregon's going to come out and Dan Lanning is going to come out and really bounce back and basically try to forget about, the coaching mistakes and the loss last week. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Washington State's going to keep this close. I think they're going to cover. 20 points is a lot. It doesn't matter if Oregon's at home. So I'm taking Washington State to cover. I do think it's going to go over, but it's going to be close. I feel like it's going to be like a 30-32 game or something like that. And I think Oregon's going to squeak it out. So I'll take the Oregon money line.
Awesome. And Dano.
So I can see this being kind of like how we didn't really show up well against Duke after the Ohio State game, because pretty similar endings for Oregon. So I'm going to take Washington State to cover and the under, but Oregon money line.
Okay, looking good. Next up, we have some Group of 5 service academies in action here. Air Force, undefeated, visiting Navy. Dano, you got an up-close look at Navy, so you'll go first here. Air Force is -11 spread here, 37.5 over-under. Air Force -425 money line, Navy +330. Go for it.
Where is it?
This is at Navy in Annapolis.
I think Air Force the whole way and over. Navy's awful.
Mm-hmm. All right. Joe.
This game is an odd one. They both do the wing tee. It's gonna be, it's the Naval Academy versus the Air Force. I'm going with Lee Corso here. Go Navy, beat Air Force. I have Navy with the points. I'm gonna take the under because I don't think either team's gonna put up much. But ultimately, I think Air Force is going to squeak it out. It's going to be like, maybe like a 14-7, 14-10 game. It's going to be boring.
Pete.
Yeah, you kind of stole that right from me, Joe. I think I think Air Force is going to squeak this out, but Navy's going to be fired up at home. The rivalry game here, it's always a great game. I'll be tuning in, probably not to see a lot of scoring, but got to support the troops. So I'm going to go with Navy covering the 11, the under for sure. I think it's probably going to be – it's going to tease us. I think it's like barely there, and then they're just going to the one team that's up is going to get the ball and run the clock out. So I think it's going to be close to hitting the over, but it's going to go under. Maybe something like a 30-21 game or something. So Air Force to win, money line, under 37.5, Navy to cover.
Russ, go for it.
All right. Well, I'm going to go Navy to cover, Air Force 6-0. They're going to win and the under. And, even though I called Air Force, being a guy who we can all see has pretty bad eyesight, they wouldn't take me in the Air Force, so I'm rooting for Navy.
Really?
They didn't allow you in Top Gun?
No, I wanted to be Tom Cruise, get the jacket, but hey, you got 2300 vision, you can't be in here.
He's in the Navy.
Oh, whatever.
He's a Navy pilot.
Flying planes.
Whatever.
I can't fly. I mean, that's an old rule now. But.
I have family who were Navy, not Air Force. I have the utmost respect for both service academies. Part of me wants to pull for the family here, but I just can't do it with this Navy team. I think Air Force will go in there and they'll handle business. So I'll take Air Force. I'll take Air Force to cover, and I'll take the under here as well. And I'll take Air Force money line straight up. Okay, next up we have
Air Force could finish undefeated. I'm looking at their schedule now.
Yeah, they might be in the lead for that group of 5 bid for
Army, Hawaii, UNLV, Boise State. They'll probably be favoring all those games.
Yeah, they could get Notre Dame in a bowl game. Start with Navy and with Air Force.
That's great.
Bring them on, bro. Bring them on.
Bring on the Service Academy. Now we have Utah at USC. Let's kind of speed it up here. USC is favored this year, -6.5 here in LA. 56 over under, USC -250, Utah +205. Joe, give us your pick.
I think it's SC. I don't see them losing 3 times to Utah, let alone I don't think Utah's offense is going to be able to keep up with USC. I think Caleb Williams is going to come out. He knows his Heisman Trophy is slipping away. If not, it's already gone. So I think he's going to put up big numbers. I have SC covering the 6.5. I'm taking the over. And since it's at home, absolutely USC money line.
This game really hinges on Cam Rising, Utah quarterback's health. If he's not back for this game, USC will win in a rout, I think. But if he is back, then things do get interesting. Either way, I've got the Trojans coming out on top. I'll pick USC to cover because I'm leaning toward Rising's not going to play. I'm definitely going to take the over. They want to respond after all that. And I'll go moneyline USC. Russ.
I say Utah covers. I'm going to go SC moneyline and the over. I'm going to go quick. Utah is really playing just, shadow games with us every week that, they're throwing out, Cam Rising might play every week.
Yeah, what's up with that? It's like, come on, is he going to play or is he going to not? Stop teasing us, dude.
Mm-hmm. He's waiting to rise.
Yeah.
Pete, let's hear from you real quick.
I was about to pound Utah heavy, unlike the people up there who don't get pounded heavy. But I think USC is going to take this for sure. USC money line, USC cover, over 56. Let's go.
Dan, round us out here.
I'm having trouble with this and what I want to root for, too. I think they're going to nail. You have it at 6.5. I see it at 7 right here.
This is early in the week when I do this, so okay. Yeah, it's changed a little bit.
But I feel like I would say push on 7. But I guess I'll say USC covers by a half point.
Mm-hmm.
And over in my line. Yeah.
Okay. Now, our game of the week here, we have Penn State at Ohio State. Ohio State -4 here at home, 47 over under. Ohio State 185 versus PSU 154, excuse me. Now, looking at this, I picked Penn State to get into the playoff for quite a while. I think they have looked like the better team, but The X factor here is this game is in Columbus. And for that, I think it's going to be a field goal or maybe even just a 1 or 2 point game. So I'll take Penn State to cover. I'm going to take the under here. I think both teams have great defenses, and it's going to make it very hard to score. But I'll take Ohio State money line here to win the game. Pete.
Yeah, not so fast, Justin. Penn State's winning this game, and they're going to win it by a touchdown or more. I am not sold on Ohio State. Not saying I'm sold on Penn, but I'm going to take Penn State, baby. I wish it had a higher underdog factor so I can make it my underdog of the week, but I can't. Doesn't matter. Still my underdog of the week. Penn State money line over, and then also cover, obviously.
All right, Dano, go for it.
In my dream world, the only way I see us ever making the playoff is if Ohio State wins Big Ten, USC wins Pac-12, and Duke wins ACC. So I got to go with Ohio State here. But I'm not going to have them covered, and I'm going to go under.
All right, Joe.
Yeah, I think Penn State's going to do the one thing Notre Dame didn't do consistently, and that was just run it down Ohio State's throat. I think Penn State's run game is legit. They have two solid running backs in Nick Singletary, and I forget who the other guy is. I just think they're going to wear out. I think they're going to wear out Ohio State. So I'm going to take Penn State with the points. I am going to take the under. I do agree it's going to be low scoring because both defenses are really good, and I'm going to take Penn State money line.
And Russ, round us out.
Yeah, I'm going with you, Justin. Everything you said. If this game was in Happy Valley in College Park, it would be a different story. But it's in Columbus, so
It's the early game, right? It's a noon game.
This game, let's see.
Let me look real
I think
quick.
it's a big noon game, which doesn't seem as crazy of an atmosphere as a night game. But.
Yeah, early game.
yeah. So I mean, if it was Happy Valley, different story. But it's in Columbus, so I still think they're going to win. But I don't think they're going to cover. And the under.
It's the early game. It's at 9:00 here in California.
Yep, I just saw that. All right. Nice job, guys. So our upsets of the week here. I picked UCF over Oklahoma. Joe?
I have a question. So the money line for my upset is below the 4.5. Do you want me to pick a new one?
Sucks
Russ?
to suck. Sucks
All
to
right,
suck.
Let me go back. I'll let you know. Pete, Dano, go ahead.
What was it? Sorry.
4.5. 4.5.
For who?
The upset pick. It's got to be a 4.5 upset.
Duke.
Dude.
All right. Duke over FSU. Pete?
I'm going to have to come back to you because I originally had Utah on there, and I changed it. So I will report back.
Okay. You got to get those picks into Russ before game
I know.
time. Russ.
Hey, game day starts when game day comes on here. Sucks to suck.
Actually, okay, make this mine. The UCF. I have UCF.
Let's
coverage.
go.
Let's go, Justin. Let's freaking ride, Justin. Let's go, baby.
Russ,
What
I got
is bullshit.
Russ, I got mine as well. I got
Wow.
TCU over Kansas State 6.5.
Excellent. And Russ,
And-
what's yours?
Mine, I have no rhyme or reason. I really struggle this week. I'm going Charlotte over East Carolina at 7.5. The only reason is I read an article on the Charlotte coach and his story, so I'm going with Charlotte this week.
All right. Love it. Miners over the Pirates. Now for our sleeper team. Dano, the sleeper team, as you might be able to figure out, is the team that may not necessarily win it all, but they're just a team that nobody's really talking about yet, and they're going to make a big splash. So with that being said, Air Force, my team that's being slept on. I know that they're ranked now, but let's see if they can finish undefeated and make some noise throughout the year. I can't wait. Joe.
I have Iowa. Again, they only have one loss to Penn State, and that was at Happy Valley. They have control of the West in the Big Ten. People are sleeping on them. They have former Michigan quarterback, and they play good defense.
They could win the Big Ten and get out of the playoff.
They could.
Yeah, that would.
Yeah, with all those injuries, though, I don't know. Dano, go for it.
I like North Carolina. I think great quarterback and a great coach and a ton of athletes, and they don't play Florida State. We just learned, so they have to play Clemson. I think at Clemson, it's probably their toughest game left. But even if they lost that, they could still probably go to the ACC championship. So yeah, I like North Carolina.
Pete.
I'm going to go Tennessee just because I think they're going to beat Bama this week. And I think they're going to, maybe win the SEC and make it into the playoffs. So I'm rolling with Tennessee, baby.
All right. And Russ.
Well, I want to say great picks, fellas, great picks, but there's only one answer. That's the Wildcats, baby. Bear down. No one's talking about them. We lost to 7 by Washington. We took SC to triple overtime loss.
You meant Kentucky.
No, bear down.
Yes.
Bear down, baby. And
Arizona.
then we slammed Washington State. Jed Fisher is doing a hell of a job. And I'm just, I'm obviously Arizona's, it's never been a football school. And I think the last time we've been really relevant has been 2014 in football. We had 1 or 2 decent years, but I'm excited to see what he's doing, and it's looking like it's starting to move in the right direction.
Absolutely. All right. And last thing here we have games we are watching. The one game that I thought was interesting here, UCLA at Stanford. Stanford, we saw with a big comeback at Colorado. Pete and Joe and I were all watching that together. We could not believe our eyes. Can the Cardinal capitalize off their huge comeback win? Let's see. Joe.
I'm watching that Utah USC game. I'm curious to see how SC responds after getting their asses kicked by ND. And is Utah Lincoln Riley's Achilles heel? Can they finally get over that hump and beat Utah?
Dano.
This is a tough spot for me because we have a bye week, so I could watch every game for once. But I also turned 40 on Friday night.
That's
so
right.
I don't know how hungover I'll be on Saturday. But I feel like I'll be definitely awake by the Florida State Duke game. Ohio State, that's a 9 a.m. game. I think we'll see. But I'm going to Florida State. I'm interested.
Happy early birthday, Dano.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, bro.
Pete.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my sleeper team. I really want to see how Tennessee handles Bama. Last week I said the game to watch was Tennessee versus A&M. I'm locked in. I got all eyes on Tennessee right now, trying to see how they navigate the rest of the season. So I'm looking for a big dub from the Volunteer boys. Let's go.
Russ, go for it.
Well, way to steal my thunder. I'm going Tennessee, Bama. I'm going the other way, though. This is going to be Bama's still got a shot to get into the playoffs. This is going to be their testament game. They're beating Tennessee this week is what I think. And then they got LSU the next week. I think they win the SEC West, and all roads lead to Atlanta for them.
Okay. We're going to wrap up with no stat of the day today because we're out of time, but we're going to go to our cheers of the week. Mine is the entertainment writers. Well, thanks to their new agreement, not only are they protected from AI, but properly compensated, but also SNL just resumed just in time for Kenan Thompson to go parody Deion Sanders in Weekend Update, which made my Saturday. It's been a really tough week for me. So welcome back to all the writers. Congrats on your new deal. And thank you, Kenan, for making me laugh. Welcome back. Go.
Yeah, my cheer goes to Stanford. Never say die, never give up. Down 29 points at halftime, and then you storm back to upset Colorado. Ooh, cheers to Stanford for giving us a great game on Friday to watch.
Cheers to the Cardinal. Dano.
I'm cheersing Pacifico because they had a shortage of it for like 2 months. And it wasn't on draft anywhere, and I get paid basically at Pacifico at 2 venues I do comedy in. So
Nice.
Back.
Let's
Hell
go.
yeah. Let's go. Best Mexican beer out there.
Russ.
All right, so obviously I said Arizona. I'm going James Madison, 6-0 right now. It's the second year that they could win the conference and not make a bowl game. So, I'm excited to see what they're doing, making that jump up from FCS to FBS. So, James Madison, excited to see. Keep it rolling.
All right, the Dukes. Let's go. And Pete, round us up.
My cheers to Brady Quinn and all the Notre Dame legends coming back for this game against USC. I've enjoyed all of the content outside of the game that Quinn's been posting with Leinart. I saw that they basically broke into the stadium. Brady went in, the alarm went off, and the cops got called. And he said, "Hey, when I went to school here, there was never an alarm." So good to know that the security has been picked up at the new stadium or the renovated stadium. So, but cheers to all the content being put out there by Quinn and all the guys.
We love it. And we love you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Dano, for joining us. It was an honor to have you.
Thanks, bro.
And we'll see you next time here in the Fins Talk Sports Network's only podcast about college football, Touchdown in Paradise. I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
I'm Joe.
I'm Russ.
And I'm Dano.
And happy birthday to Dano on Friday. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Everybody you know. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you guys.
End it.